Yo. Yo.
Let's start this one by setting the scene. It is 7 a.m. on the East Coast. Josh, actually early riser, 6 a.m. for him. Josh, are you normally
6 a.m. Central Time, baby? I am not normally a morning person. You also appear to have no chin, I will say. I don't know if that's normal, but yeah, no, not a morning person.
I usually don't sprout my chin until 8.
Fair.
Um,
They don't call you
yeah.
Brett Chinkowski after all.
No, they don't. This week we are covering, I think, the antithesis to the hustle porn or the hustle industry, like Goggins or Tim Robbins. This episode is about hobbies that you're not going to pick up. So it's not going to be a motivational episode, I don't think, but it'll be very comforting and relatable. I feel like every week I have different ideas about what I'm going to do on the weekend, and then I end up just hanging out on the couch and spending some time with friends instead of actually doing anything productive. But before we jump into the
You don't have
list,
any friends, Brent.
you guys are my only friends.
Yes, Brett famously no friends, but they do say friends are actually the most important thing to being happy. So maybe
Most
that is
important
productive.
hobby.
Now that explains my depression. um,
Brett's friends are on
Brett's
the
depression is funny.
So before we jump into the list, I do have a fast five for you guys. In light of the U.S. domination at the Olympics, I wanted to hit quickly on the top 5 U.S. dominant Olympic performances from this past Summer Olympics. So I'm going at number 5, Ledecky in the 800-meter free. It's 4 golds in a row for her. Ryan Crouser in the shot put, 3 golds in a row for shot put. Also, he comes from a long line of throwing things families. So he has a lot of relatives that do shot put and javelin. Number 3, U.S. women's basketball. They won 60-something games in a row now in the Olympics. That's just pure dominance.
They won by
8
one.
straight goals, right? Yeah, they did only win by 1. Good point, Brian.
Yeah, but they won. And that's what we care about in the US of A. Number 2, the track and field team. They made it to the podium on 20 of 35 events. And then number 1, Steph Curry, my man, the Wildcat, the babyface assassin. Night, 4 threes in the last 2 minutes of the gold medal match. So that's the fast 5.
I don't know about the word dominant in there, but yeah, those were awesome performances. But yeah, winning by 1, and the U.S. men's basketball team barely won in the semis, and it was a close game in the finals. You should have mentioned that the track and field was mostly carried by the U.S. women. I think most of those goals were from the women Olympians.
Yeah,
That's a little sexist, but sure.
Carl Lewis was pissed about the men's 4x1.
I don't know how 8 golds in a row isn't total domination.
For what?
That one game, maybe they didn't dominate, but U.S. women's basketball is completely dominant in the sport. Anyway,
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Well, what about Ledecky in the 1500 meters? Just not a mile swim man.
well, I just didn't watch that race, so I went with the race that I watched. But also, I don't think that she won the 1500 4 times in a row.
That might be true.
The 800, she got gold 4 in a row.
I think one plug I'll put in here is Japan's dominance in the wrestling meet for the Olympics was pretty impressive. They medaled in half the weight classes. I don't know how many golds they had, but they were really good. And I didn't know that they were so good at wrestling.
Yeah, if the Fast 5 was about any country's dominance, then I think that Japan had a shot at making it, but this is very U.S. specific.
Why was there the U.S. What was the air pistol one?
Oh, like the Turkish guy?
Yeah.
Turkish grandpa? That guy was awesome. All right. let's jump into the main list. Hobbies that you aren't going to pick up, or hobbies maybe that you want to pick up but will never pick up. Um, so Brian, why don't we start with you? What were your criteria? What were you thinking about going into this list?
I had two main criteria. One was things that I definitely want to do that I've been saying to myself that I'm going to do for a long time, but it's not looking good for those hobbies anytime soon. And the other one was things that there's like no way I would do because I was just like, this is so uninteresting to me and or scary to me that I don't want to take up this hobby.
On that second criteria, do you have any like desire, like you would like to try that, but you just don't see it as a possibility, or is like you have an aversion to those hobbies in general?
I think there's part of me that would want to try it as like a face your fear type of thing. But realistically, some of them feel a little too dangerous and my life too valuable to try.
Okay. Okay. Josh, how about you? What were your criteria?
Mine were pretty similar. Things that I wouldn't mind doing if there were absolutely no learning curve, in some future where I could just pop a pill and like know how to do this thing. And then the other were this is more of an or situation than an and situation with my criteria. Things that I have enjoyed or imagined I would enjoy doing. So maybe I've tried them once or twice and liked it, but never really stuck with it, or things I've thought about wanting to do but never have.
So your number one is kind of like what programs, if you were in the Matrix, you would be like, all right, I want to download these programs.
Yeah.
I got you. I got you. Okay. Pretty simple criteria on this one. Anything to add before? Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I was going to ask, what kind of app store do you think they got in the Matrix? You think they got Flappy Bird?
I don't know what that is.
No idea what that is.
You don't know
Yeah,
what
what
that is?
is Flappy Bird? Yeah.
Oh,
Let's do a Flappy Bird digression.
Yeah, quick quick aside. It was that game that was really popular, like, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago on iPhone, where you just tap and the bird like flies through, and it kind of looks like Super Mario, and you're just like flying through obstacles. It was extremely popular.
Wasn't it called Angry Birds?
No, it was a different one.
This is the one where they go down into the ravines and you like launch yourself off.
Yeah, you can't hit any of the obstacles or you lose. But
No.
the guy who made it was this guy in Vietnam. He was making like $40,000 a day serving ads on this game, and then he just took it offline. He was like, people are getting too addicted, and then he just took it off, and that's it. That was the last time Flappy Bird was ever seen. Respect for just being like, I don't care how much money I'm making, I'm taking it offline. You guys can't be trusted with it. But
Yeah,
Flappy Bird.
I guess an endeavor is no longer a hobby if you're making $40,000 a day at it. So maybe he wanted to just keep that as a hobby.
Yeah.
It turned into work and he wasn't about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about monetizing your hobbies that suck the fun out of them.
Yeah, and that brings me to our sponsorship for the episode for our coin toss sponsor. This coin toss is brought to you by Masterclass. If you think your gym membership is going well, it's time for you to level up with the Mind Gym at Masterclass. Learn from the masters how to meditate or bake bread, how to negotiate a business deal, or conserve the environment. Right now, you can get $5 off your monthly subscription by going to masterclass.com/high5. That's masterclass.com/high5. Masterclass. You're definitely going to learn a lot and not waste your money on another subscription. All right. Who won the last one? I'm forgetting now. I think it was Brian because
Yeah.
Josh had a personal dig at me, which cost him the game.
Yeah.
So Brian, it's your call, heads or tails.
Heads.
It is heads.
Oh, Josh, the floor is yours.
Brian's switching it up, stealing my heads this week. I feel like you've always gone tails in the past.
Yeah, Heads, famously, only Josh can pick it.
Yeah, I thought I had a personal domain over heads. I'm also a little bit surprised we weren't sponsored this week by Hobby Lobby, which is very fun to say. It reminds me of when you first start learning Spanish and you start learning the past tense and start just shouting out things like "haba blabamos" or "chaba haba blabamos." Hobby Lobby, Hobby Lobamos.
That is how you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, I reached out to Hobby Lobby and they declined.
Pricks. All right, let me launch into my top 5 here. Hopefully, Brett is going to do a better job of judging this week.
Oh, I am. Yeah, definitely.
Thinking of Hobby Lobby, my number 5 hobby that I will never ever pick up is scrapbooking. I look back, I have boxes of things like ticket stubs and, photographs and all these things from past experiences. I've moved around a lot in my life. It'd be great if I just had all of these things neatly collected in a scrapbook, but I do not, and I never will.
That's fair. Yeah, I have a giant file folder full of like old cards, like birthdays or whatever. And I'm always like, oh, it'd be so nice to put these into something, but it's just going to sit in my closet. Each time I move, I go through this file thing and I'm looking at it, and then it's even too much work to throw out. So I just move it with me to the next spot.
Every time I move, I go through this box of same thing of cards, and then I probably shed like 10% of it. I'm like, I can get rid of this one, and then so it's getting smaller. But lately, I've been tempted to just throw it all away. It's like I'm not gonna do anything with this. But like, what would you do with the scrapbook after? It would just sit there.
Look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at it, maybe pass it down to future generations that might never exist. So maybe like donate it to my local library.
I did recently visit a friend at their like family's home that had been in their family for many generations, and they had a photo album that I enjoyed looking through. I don't know how much they look through it, but I thought it was cool to see very old photos in there from like this guy's mom when she was our age. So I thought it was interesting to see that, and I'm glad that they put in that effort. But I'm with you, Josh. I don't think I'm ever going to be doing that.
Yeah, I should say probably an unspoken criteria of mine are things that I feel like will make other people feel bad about themselves for not doing. And I think scrapbooking is a good example there. Like if you break out a scrapbook that you have, other people are like, damn, I wish I had that kind of dedication to organizing my past.
Yeah, now it's been spoken though, so it's on your list.
Yeah, gives it some gravitas.
Okay, number 5 for Josh was scrapbooking. Brian, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is one that I don't necessarily have that much of an interest in trying, but it scares me. So I'm going with beekeeping. It also seems like a very impractical and kind of expensive hobby, but I do have a deathly fear of bees, and no matter how important they are to the environment and our future, I don't want to help raise them. They should get a job like the rest of us. So I'm not really a bee or beekeeper fan, but it does seem like those cool like hazmat looking suits look like they could be fun to wear. Maybe I'll be a beekeeper for Halloween to scratch this hobby's itch. It also seems difficult to monetize. I like my hobbies to at least have some pathway to monetization.
You can sell that honey.
True.
You can make all kinds of things out of honey. I would say my number 5 and Brian's number 5 weirdly similar. Brian will never do beekeeping, and I will not be keeping things in a scrapbook.
It's too early for that.
True.
What kinds of things can you make out of honey, Josh?
I don't know. I feel like people make candles and stuff, or I don't
That's
know.
wax.
Oh, well, that comes from bees.
Okay. Okay. You said a lot of things can be made out of honey.
Well, you can make those like straw things that are closed on both ends that have honey in the middle of them.
What? Like a
You
like
can
a
fill something with honey. It's still honey.
like a Chinese finger trap with honey.
You
Yeah,
never
no, they're
seen
like
those,
they're
Brian?
like kid snacks or
Yeah.
little
I know what you're
treats.
talking about. I know what you're talking about. That's still just honey though.
You can put honey into tea and make tea honey or honey tea or tea with honey.
I think it's safe to
Got
say
it.
that Josh has zero ideas about what honey can be made into. Uh, but Josh, let's go back to you for your number 4.
All right. This also has a tie-in to your Fast Five, the Olympics. I'm going to go with surfing. Looks really cool, especially if you already happen to be at the beach. Sounds like something that's fun to talk about with colleagues. What are you going to do on vacation? Oh, I'm going to, go to the beach and go surfing, bro. Yeah. I assume, Brett, you and all of your 3 friends from California talk this way. You all do surfing, but
I actually
alas, I will
don't.
not.
I actually can't surf. I've taken lessons. I tried to get into it, but if you don't live near the beach and you can't go regularly, you're just getting pounded by the waves
It's
during the
really hard.
lessons. Yeah, I do. I am envious of people that can surf, though. I do think it looks and sounds really cool. Um, so yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's a pretty solid one. It's also very accessible, I think, to people that are on the coast.
Yeah, how much does a surfboard cost? Like maybe $100?
Make it out of honey. It's cheap.
Yeah,
Less
true. You
than-
can make anything out of honey.
Less than a beekeeping suit, for sure.
Josh, it's quick condiment aside for you. Is honey a condiment that you would put onto some things?
I would consider a honey, a condiment. A lot of people would like to drizzle it on toast, but I don't know that I would necessarily be able to discern shitty honey from good honey.
Oh no, there's
Gotcha.
when you get like the nice organic honey, you can tell the difference. I like the hot honey. A little spicy.
Ooh, a little like harissa honey.
Yeah, I guess so.
What is
I don't know.
harissa? What is harissa honey?
I don't know. I had it on something recently, and it sounds like it should be hot.
Yeah, harissa's hot, I think.
All right, Brian, number 4 for you.
Surfing was close to my list too, by the way. This one's also an outdoor activity, and it was also recently an Olympic event added in Tokyo 2020. Rock climbing is one of these things that I've joined rock climbing gyms before, and aside from a couple times where I climbed, I just got kind of bored. And so then I would just use like the regular gym, but never the actual wall. And whenever I go to, like, sometimes you go to Six Flags or other amusement parks and they have like the wall outside where you can pay $5 and climb or whatever. And I always see those things and I'm like, oh, I want to do it. I never do. And I like the idea. Like you saw Free Solo, the guy who's climbing these crazy mountains with no harnesses. Like, it seems really badass until you read that like a lot of them die because they just slip because they're not wearing a harness. So I like the idea of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go out and just like climb this big mountain, but it's too dangerous and too hard. And then I think the actual like it's I don't live close to any mountains. I don't want to travel anywhere, so maybe I could do parkour instead. But
I have a couple close friends that are really into rock climbing, and I just can't get on board with it. I'm with you, Brian. It just I see it and I'm like, oh, that I used to like climbing stuff when I was a kid. But now it's just I don't know, something about the culture of that sport rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I'm with you on rock climbing. The I don't know what the attraction is to the free solo thing. I guess it's just the adrenaline rush that you get from being way high up there, and if you slip, you can die.
Being close to the end for like hours on end.
Yeah. Josh, you rock climb?
I do not, though. I did like climbing things as a kid also, and once made my parents have my birthday party at a gas station that happened to have this wall that I liked climbing up and down. The gas station did not appreciate a bunch of kids with
It wasn't a sanctioned event.
it was not sanctioned. We did not sign waivers. They probably would have been liable had one of us free soloed and fallen.
So you told your parents, I want to have my birthday party at this gas station?
Yeah, they were thrilled, cheap birthday.
So what, you guys each got a little stipend to go in and buy something over the counter?
I don't know. I think they kind of kicked us out like 5 minutes into it. And then we went across the street to the mall.
That's so good. All right, Josh. Number 3 for you.
My number 3 is guitar. You know, listening to my criteria, this is something would be like great party trick. I feel like guitar is, something that in my younger days I could have used to swoon the ladies, or woo the ladies rather. Yeah, guitar. I feel like I don't really
What are
need
you
to
saying?
offer much of an explanation here.
What is this?
He's saying guitar.
Oh, I thought you were saying Qatar, like the
That's
country.
what I heard too. Yeah, I heard
And
that
I was
too.
like, what are you talking about?
No, I'm with you on the guitar one. That one, I always really am like, oh, want to know how to play guitar. But I think truly deep down in my heart, what I really want is the guitar just in my space, like as a little ornament. It looks cool, like sitting there. People walk in and like, oh, you play guitar? Oh, yeah, play guitar, But then you never have to play it. I think it looks cool in the space, in the living space. But yeah, maybe
I
one day.
totally agree. Yeah, air guitar doesn't really look as good in a Zoom background as an actual guitar, although I do dabble.
You could get a keytar. You know the
Well, I fully plan on making guitar a hobby. What is a keytar?
It's like the piano guitar that you could just like you play. It's like wrapped around your neck and you're playing keytar.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, I feel like good when I say guitar, and I don't know why I said it like that this time, but I include all like stringed instruments that could be strummed. I would love to just be able to strum something, maybe like a banjo, a ukulele.
Oh, so you're
quattro.
expanding this hobby from guitar to strummable instruments.
Strummable instruments, yeah.
It does seem like if you can do guitar, then you automatically can do any of the other ones. I feel like guitar players just pick up the other ones. I'm like, when did you learn that one?
Was the same motion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like also anybody that can play guitar can play harmonica as well.
That's
I've
part
never
of the
tested
package.
that theory. Yeah.
That one's not motion related, but yeah, you're right. Well, harmonicas are built to always be in a certain key, right? So you can never play a wrong note.
Is that true?
Fact checker. We still need a fact checker. Let's pause real quick to just say fact checking applications are coming in hot. We could still use some though. So the high five podcast 55@gmail.com. Send in your fact checking application.
Also, here's a new perk that comes associated with the position. Since you only get paid on tips, and both presidential candidates say that there are no more taxes on tips, you don't have to pay taxes on the few tips that you make at working for the high five.
That's a good deal. Tax-free job. All right, Brian, your number 3 hobby that you will never pick up.
This is one that I started to pick up back in college, and I've always told myself that I'll revisit it, but I just like don't see it happening. And I've always I took German in college because I wanted to learn it, and I've always felt like, yeah, like I was like just a little bit more practice away from like, you know, like maybe going like living there for a while or something. But it's just been so long that whenever I meet somebody who's German, I'm tempted to be like, oh, I used to I used to take it, but I did that once, and then they started speaking to me in German, and I was like, I don't know what you're saying. So, but it's one of those that I think about pretty regularly. I'm like, damn, I should do that, but it's just not that high on the priority list. It's enough that it bothers me, but not enough to actually get me to download Duolingo or whatever.
Specifically for German, that one's tough too because I feel like all Germans are like fluent in English from a young age.
Yeah.
So you never really.
I thought you were going to say all Germans are fluent in German, so they speak fast. But yeah, you are right. They do tend to speak English.
Yeah. And there's just not as many German speakers as there are other languages like Spanish or Chinese or something. But I can totally relate to you on the desire to speak in that language because you know a little bit of it. And then the person just comes back to you in fluent English and you're like, all right,
Just
well, I
a
don't
taste.
even know why I tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I ordered some street meat in Berlin using my German. That was the extent of the conversation that I asked them to put sauce on my like kebab.
Mustard.
As I said, mit allem Sauce, like all the sauces.
Oh, well, that sounded good.
Yeah, right. Maybe yeah, but I just stick to that, and then they don't press me on it.
Yeah. Just stick with sauce orders. I think you're golden.
I can only speak in sauces when I'm
Condiments, baby. Yeah, I think Brian just put this on his list so he could get to this street meat story.
Yeah. This is a long lead in to the street meat story.
I once lived with a woman from Austria, and we would play poker. And she was otherwise a delightful lady, but when she saw something on the table that she didn't like or in her card, she would slam the table and yell, Scheiße. So I do know that word.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, foreign languages for sure for me as well. I always want to practice, and I feel like just the older I get, the more like embarrassing, like dad like it is.
Yeah.
Where you go to like a foreign country and for me, I'm like trying to speak Spanish. They're just like answering me back in English. I'm just like,
they just hit you with the night.
Okay, Josh, you're number 2.
But my number 2 is a little bit like Brian's rock climbing one, in that this is something I have tried and enjoyed, but ultimately I fear for my safety if I were to pursue it in any more depth, and that is boxing. So when I was a kid, my dad and I would often put on oven mitts and imitate boxers, and this was mostly me just like wailing on his ribs and him letting me do that. He didn't actually punch me in the face, thankfully. But yeah, I see people like going to boxing gyms. It's a great workout. I like watching the sport of boxing. I feel like it would be great to be able to beat somebody up, because I do like talking a lot of shit, but I am not great at fighting. So
It's
boxing
tough
would be,
combo.
yeah, boxing would be a good hobby for me in particular. Famously got in a fight in Germany. I did not speak German, and that did not help post-fight with the authorities. Scheiße.
Were you wearing headgear?
No headgear. It would have helped.
He was wearing a wearing a piece of glass at the end of it.
Indeed.
Boxing, when I watch a boxing movie and they do that montage scene, every time I'm like, oh yeah, I could do this. I could get in there. Just playing music, towing an airplane behind me. Like
Chasing chickens.
yeah. But then when it comes down to it, I can't, like, I went to a gym that had like a side section where they did like boxing and they had like these gloves. It was a dirty, gross gym all around, but the smell from like other people's sweaty hands just really grosses me out. I don't even like in soccer, like when you change places with a goalie in like a rec league and you putting your hand into like the goalie glove where they just had their sweat. It's like really, I have a really strong aversion to that. Some people it doesn't bother, but I can't do it. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
reminds me of like Halloween where they would blindfold you and make you stick your hand in something gross.
yeah, I don't know what Halloweens
What
you were going to. I never had to do that, but it does sound gross.
What?
Sounds like your older brother was doing that to you.
Likely. Yeah, no, but it'd be like a jar full of like Jello or gummy worms or something, or like cold macaroni, and they'd be like, "This is brains." You're like, "All right, well, I know it's not brains, but it's still gross."
I don't like that. Actually, you kind of turned me on the brains thing. That is kind of funny. I was gonna say I don't like this Halloween tradition, but then it's like this is brains. I like that.
All right. Number two for you, Brian.
Okay, I this is one that I know like a lot of people are into it, and it seems like a valuable skill for life, but it's not like that accessible to me at least. And I feel like time is slipping away. Is golf. Like I don't play golf. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've been to a driving range or embarrass myself at a simulator. And I it's like those things like, yeah, I should be, especially as you get older and you can do fewer physical activities. Seems like people can golf forever. It feels like something I should pick up. I keep telling myself that I will, but it's just pretty low on the agenda.
Totally agree. I know how to play. I took a golf course in college, and then I played some times throughout the years. But I just don't. Again, I think it's a culture thing. If you're not like good at golf and like confident and call yourself a golfer, then I just feel like I'm letting everyone else down when I go. They're like, oh, Brett's got to pick up the ball again, and like
This guy.
even if like they're your friends and they're nice, you just feel bad for being bad at golf. And so I end up just like people are like, oh, do you golf? And I'm just like, nah, just I don't know. I just don't. I can't get into it. It's almost like for me, like when you sit down at a poker table for blackjack, if you don't know like the rules of when to hit or whatever, the people at the table would get really pissed at you. So I'm just like, I don't want to. I'm not dealing with blackjack, man. I'm just not gonna do it.
Brett used to have hundreds of friends, but they were all golfers. And he went golfing with all of them, and now he's down to three.
Are you a golfer, Josh?
No, but I've not given up the dream. So I've been lugging around like golf clubs for my last three moves, and they're golf clubs I've had since I was a kid. Because I've gone golfing a couple times. I used to like to go, and I do play mini golf every chance I get. So I feel
I like
like
mini golf.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
I'm
I feel
big
like I
into
can't
mini
say
golf.
I'm
golf
I'm a
thing.
golfer. Mini golf. I'm a
I played mini
golfer.
golf a few weeks ago.
That's like 1/3 of the game, you know?
Josh, didn't you and I have a double date mini golf challenge that I whipped you in?
No, it was mixed. It was couples mini golf, and you were carried by your partner, I believe. Well,
All I remember,
my
all I
main
remember was the
takeaway,
victory.
my main takeaway from that outing was you carrying a zebra purse around the
So you,
18 holes.
damn, it must have been embarrassing for you to get whipped up on by a guy carrying a zebra purse.
Very, very embarrassing.
Especially after you made him reach in there and touch the brains.
All right, I gotta say, I'm with you guys on almost all of these. Like I've had these same desires, but I'm never gonna pick any of these up. So let me just recap for our audience real quick the list before we get to our number ones. All right, so these are the top five hobbies that you're never gonna pick up. For Josh, we have scrapbooking, surfing, stringed instruments, specifically guitar, boxing at number 2. For Brian at number 5, beekeeping, rock climbing, foreign languages, specifically German, and golf. I will say a lot of nice balance between these lists. They're lining up. Each number 3 slot has a general term, but then a specific example. So I'm really liking the balance and the symmetry in these lists. So let's jump into the number ones. Josh, you're up.
Yeah, my number 1 is video games or gaming. Something I loved doing as a kid on my like old school Nintendo. I think I made it up to through Sega Genesis into PlayStation, maybe PlayStation 2, but never really advanced beyond that. And I feel like to be a part of like bro culture, oftentimes you need to know something about video games, and particularly these video games where you go around shooting a bunch of people, which I am not particularly a fan of. And I usually end up just stranded in a corner. And Brett, you talk about people getting mad at you for playing blackjack wrong or golfing wrong. I'm just there in the corner and people are like, no, turn around, like shoot somebody. And I'm like, no, I don't know how. I just am looking at this wall. And I just don't think I'm ever going to get into it at this point.
Yeah, that tracks. The amount of time it took you to get the Zoom link up this morning, I think, really is a testament to how you would perform in a video game.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I video. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna say that I also used to be very into video games as a kid, but I've made the conscious choice not to get them, not to like buy like a console or anything, because it's interesting that you consider it like a hobby, because for a long time it's like, oh, like these kids and their video games, there's like too much video games, that's why they're shooting up all the schools, and so that's why so then. I don't know. I just kind of like lost interest over the years, and I was like, it's really easy for me to get sucked in, and like 12 hours go by on this. So I treat it like fire. I stay far away from it.
Like fire and bees. Yeah, you were like treating it as a hobby. What is it? A way of life? Or...
It's more of a brotherhood.
I think what he was going for was like it's just like a kid's diversion, not really a hobby, right?
But
Is that what you're
it's
saying?
become one. Like now, there's like a esports league, and people can make a lot of money doing it. And I guess some people like consider it, like a more. I think I read an article once about how it can actually, like educational gaming, can be a really powerful learning tool. I don't know how much you're learning when you're shooting up like a bunch of Nazi zombies, but in other cases there might be.
Yeah, I think I learned a lot about life playing Halo in my friend's basement. But yeah, the video game thing too, I was really big into them. And as I've aged, I've noticed that the ranks of video game players just thins out as time goes on. And then when the pandemic hit, I texted my old high school buddies who we played a ton of video games together, and I said, "Yeah, maybe I should get an Xbox. Any of you guys still playing video games?" And they were all like, "Nah, what are you talking about?"
You tried
for
to get
golfing.
Yeah, they were all golfing. Yeah, exactly.
They were golfing.
Okay, Brian, your number one hobby that you will never pick up.
Maybe we should get a Xbox and golf on, just like play golf on Xbox.
That sounds even worse than actual golf
all
to me.
golf simulators. Yeah.
Okay, this one is I've got gardening. It's a hobby that I don't really have any interest in. I don't really get it, but specifically a subculture of gardening that I found recently called aquascaping.
What is that?
This is it's very expensive. It's basically underwater gardening, where you put together like a garden in a fish tank, like in an aquarium, and you like decorate it, and you plant, like plant all these things that grow underwater, and then you can make it look really nice. It's like an underwater terrarium, I guess, but there are no fish. It's just plants. And
So it's
some
an
people go all
aquarium
out.
with no fish.
It's called aquascaping.
Is it freshwater
Brett,
or
are you listening?
is it freshwater or saltwater or both?
I think it could be both. I'm not sure though. I don't plan on getting too deep into this world, so I don't know if I'll get back to you on it. But open
It's
question.
just like someone whose fish died invented this hobby. Some friends came over and he still had the aquarium. It was like, no, that's aquascaping.
That's the aquascaping marina.
Yeah, I mean, definitely never getting into aquascaping. I didn't even know that was a thing. But gardening, I have thought a lot about doing and I've never done.
It's a
The
lot of
closest I
work.
got was when my wife planted some tomato plants and then we went on vacation and I was supposed to have a friend come by the house and water them and I forgot to do that and they all died. That was the closest we ever got.
You haven't recovered since.
No, I'm still working my way out of the doghouse for that one. Any honorable mentions that you guys wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I've
I
got.
have a whole list. You
Yeah.
go first, Brian.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll rattle these off quickly. Basketball. Basketball. I love it. I love to watch it, but it's just like, and I'm always like, oh, I should get one and I should go play. But then I just like I don't see myself doing that. Magic. Like
The card
Gathering?
game or like the actual?
no, like actually doing like, magic. I know a couple of magic tricks, but I've always wanted to expand my knowledge deeper into the magic world. Maybe like get a crowd on the street or something.
I once interviewed a guy for a job who was an amateur magician, and by the end of the interview, we were just having him do tricks. He was not qualified at all for the job he was applying for, but we almost hired him just to have him around.
Yeah, if you could just pull that out of your hat.
What was the job for? Do you remember?
Was to work in a call center. He needed some like technical ability, which he did not have.
He was like, he's like, let me guess your card. Let me guess your issue. Dude, he might have been really good.
He could have been a savant.
And then the last one is parkour.
Can that even be a hobby? Is that a hobby?
Or is that a way of life? Yeah, I don't know. I ask myself the same thing. Because
Josh, your honorable mentions?
You look around,
Oh,
you see
sorry.
cool stuff that you could just like climb.
What
Maybe-
is parkour? Climbing stuff?
It's like when people are out in the world, like doing flips over benches and like instead of using
Oh.
the stairs, jumping on like the third floor balcony. Seems like a really
yeah.
like easy way to get around too. I think for the speed of it.
I feel like Brian is secretly doing all of these hobbies that he says he'll never pick up. Like he says he'll never pick up gardening, but he's got like a lush like set of plants behind him. He breaks out near perfect German when talking about
Yeah.
not doing.
That was
not doing
suspect.
it. Yeah. Just a bunch of humble brags. Like this is top 5 humble brags from Brian. Like I'm not really that into it, but I do it well.
Hold on, I gotta silence my Duolingo notifications.
Josh, honorable mentions?
Yeah, I'll go through them quickly. Pickleball, YouTube, both watching or doing. Although we do have a YouTube channel, so check it out.
You're doing it right
So I
now.
guess I am technically YouTubing. Yeah, maybe I'm humble bragging here as well. Blogging in general, yoga, book club membership, like ongoing book club membership. I'm always like, yeah, I'm gonna read that book, and maybe I do it once, but then never keep up with it because usually they choose shitty books I don't want to read. Pogs from back in the day. I remember kids were into Pogs, probably before both y'all time. But
That's a hobby for adults?
not for adults, but like childhood me thought about getting into Pogs, but never did.
Oh, okay, I
Adult
gotcha.
pogs.
Yeah, that's Pokemon for childhood me. Never got into Pokemon.
Oh no.
Yeah, me neither. And lastly, my last honorable mention, keeping up with my correspondence. Like people that still write old school letters to each other. Like that sounds awesome. I wish I still did that. I used to write postcards to people. But my correspondence is not kept up with.
Yeah, I did that one time for my sister. She was going through a tough time. And I wrote out this really, like, I thought, really long, nice letter. And she just texted me back with, like, the one thing that she didn't like in that letter. And that was it. I was like, all right. It was a wasted
Correspondence over.
Yeah.
I'll never do this again.
Yeah. All right. We're getting close on time here. So let's get to, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to pick a winner because almost every single one of these I've thought about as well. I'm just going to make it very personal. You guys went personal, so I'm going to go personal. And I'm just picking based off of whose list most similarly resembles my own. And I got to go with Josh because I think I never considered beekeeping at all. So I'm giving the winner's rant to Josh. Josh, the floor is yours.
Yeah, did you see me doing a little shadow boxing right there?
Yeah, I saw it. We all saw it.
So
yeah, I probably would have gotten punched in the face.
Yeah, like a knockout for you.
Yeah, I felt like I did knock somebody out. I do want to shout out. You shouted out Steph Curry up at the top in your Fast Five. I do want to say I've had a great weekend trolling Serbians because of Joel Embiid's dominance in the semifinal match against Nikola Jokic. And my rant for the week is that Nikola Tesla, while a very good inventor, was a shitty businessman. So take that, Serbia.
His car company's doing pretty well.
Are they? I thought they were struggling recently. Haven't they pivoted into robots or something?
I don't know.
They're doing something like that. Was Nikola Tesla Serbian?
He's Serbian American. Yeah, I think he might have been born in what is now Croatia. But the key point in all of this was that Serbians took offense to me making this comment on Twitter.
Oh, you had Twitter haters?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we were boxing, verbal jousting.
You were chopping
about
it up.
Joel Embiid versus Nikola Jokic.
Are you
Verbal
active?
boxing is a hobby that Josh has mastered.
Love it.
Are you active on NBA Twitter?
I am.
All right, I'll have to look it up.
What's your handle for the
in.
listeners?
Runaway Gringo.
Nice. Runaway Gringo. Shout out as well to our foreign listeners. We got 2 listeners out in the UAE. So shout out to you guys. If any of you guys are listening and thinking about some facts that you want to check, write in the High Five Podcast 55@gmail.com. We're still looking for fact checkers. And thank you guys all for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Brains.